Well, West Virginia is officially out of bowl contention. They will not make a bowl game in the 2022 season. It will be the second time in 4 years that West Virginia misses a bowl appearance. We are really knee-deep in one of the worst stretches of West Virginia football history, the worst stretch since the late 1970s, just before the Don Nehlen era began in 1980-81. But what I want to focus on is today's game, West Virginia's 48-31 loss to the Kansas State Wildcats. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let's talk about it. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Coos, and welcome into another edition of Coos' Corner. Pull up a chair, and let me serve you up this shot of top-shelf college football content. On tap in this episode, we are recapping, reviewing, and I'm giving you my thoughts on West Virginia's 48-31 loss to Kansas State. First of all, kudos to Kansas State. They are a really good football team. They were prepared for this game. They played well. Yes, they made some mistakes. There were some things that Kansas State needs to clean up. I get that. But at the end of the day, they were the much better team today. They defeated West Virginia 48-31 on West Virginia's home turf. And Kansas State remains in contention to appear in the Big 12 title game in Arlington on December the 5th. And with a win next week over the Kansas Jayhawks, we'll play the TCU Horned Frogs to become Big 12 champion. Now, in today's game, the first thing I want to do is talk about the emotion of this game. I just got finished watching Neil Brown's post-game press conference. Very emotional. They asked him about James Gamitter. James Gamitter, who we know has retired from football due to some recurring injuries. But James did walk today on senior day. And James just lost his mother just a couple of weeks ago. And his mother, under normal circumstances, would have been there to greet him today, and she was not there. Neil Brown talked about that. And matter of fact, I'm getting a little choked up talking about it myself. But you could see the emotion in Neil Brown's eyes when he talked about that. You could talk about how much James means to him, how much his guys mean to him, and how much his heart was breaking for James in that situation. So just my heart goes out to James Gamitter today. I can't even imagine how emotional that must have been for him to go out for that senior day walk fresh off his mother's passing and for her not to be there waiting on him when he walked out of that tunnel. And kudos to Neil Brown. Neil Brown, by all accounts, appears to be a good man, a good human being. And he seems like he really cares about his guys. And, outside the football piece of it, there's human beings involved in this, guys, and we need to remember that. I'm guilty of being overly negative at times. But we got to remember this is just football, and these are humans. So heart goes out to James Gamitter, thoughts and prayers to him and his family. And I wish James Gamitter luck. He has a wife, 2 kids. He accepted a job as a police officer for the University Police Department there at WVU. So kudos to him for that. Thank him for his service and wish him nothing but the best moving forward. Now, let's get on to the game. I'm going to share these stats with you. When you look at the team stats here, obviously the score was 48-31 Kansas State. When you look at first downs, tied, 21-21. Third down efficiency, Kansas State 9 of 14, West Virginia only 2 of 10. Right there is a huge key to this game. Part of the reason for that, in my opinion, West Virginia, a lot of times were not able to get good yardage on first and second down. Therefore, it led to a lot of too many third and longs, and they weren't able to capitalize. And then I think penalties also played a role in that, their inability to get first downs, which I'll touch on in just a minute. Fourth down efficiency, Kansas State 0 of 2. West Virginia actually did pretty good here. We're 2 out of 4. Total yards, Kansas State 437, West Virginia 369. Passing yards, Kansas State 294, West Virginia 216. So not a great day through the air, but we really weren't expecting it with Garrett Green as a starting quarterback. We knew he was going to rely more on his feet than his arm, and he did that for the most part. And I thought he made some good plays today, scrambling out of the pocket, making throws. But 216 in the air for the Mountaineers. Kansas State was 19 of 27 passing. West Virginia was 16 of 28 passing. Kansas State averaged 10.9 yards per pass. West Virginia 7.7. Interceptions thrown. Kansas State had the one. Malachi Ruffin got the pick 6 for West Virginia, and then Garrett Green threw a pick 6 of his own, and then Kansas State picked off another Garrett Green pass later in the game. So West Virginia had those 2 turnovers, and once again loses the turnover battle, which, to be honest, has really been one of the storylines of this season. Rushing yards, Kansas State 143, West Virginia 153. So surprisingly, West Virginia actually gained more yards on the ground than Kansas State did. I felt like the offensive line for West Virginia played well today, opened up some running lanes. Justin Johnson and Jalen Anderson really had good days on the ground. I really like the way those guys were running. They were being patient, waiting for holes to open up and slipping right through. I want to give kudos right now to Chad Scott. He has done a fantastic job getting these running backs ready, developing these guys into really good running backs. I really like what all four running backs of this team bring. Tony Mathis is still banged up, trying to recover from injury. So obviously he wasn't able to play much today. We know C.J. Donaldson is out. We know his story. Don't need to elaborate on that anymore, but we know the development that has existed at that position. These guys look much better now than they did earlier in the year, and kudos to them. They looked good today. I felt like they should have ran the ball more in the second half. The game was not out of hand yet, and I felt like West Virginia moved away from the run a little bit too much. Rushing attempts, Kansas State got their yards on 42 attempts, West Virginia on 34. Yards per rush, Kansas State 3.4, West Virginia 4.5. So like there again, West Virginia actually won the day on the ground. Penalties. This is a big story here. Kansas State only had 3 penalties for 30 yards. West Virginia, 8 penalties for 46 yards. Just too many penalties. And they came at crucial times again, delay of games, false starts, things that you just can't have happen if you want to have a winning football team. I mentioned the 2 turnovers, the 2 picks. Time of possession, no big deal there. I felt like, I didn't feel like this was much of a difference in the game, but Kansas State had the ball for 31 minutes, 36 seconds to West Virginia's 28-24. So, I mean, really the keys of this game, third down conversions and then penalties. I mean, West Virginia just could not convert on third down and then too many penalties and also the turnover battle. West Virginia continued to shoot themselves in the foot like they have much of the season, and you just can't play winning football when you do that. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Really all there needs to be said on that regard. Now, key individual stats for the game. I mean, passing yards, Will Howard was 19 out of 27, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw the 1 pick six. Garrett Green was 15 out of 27, 204 yards, 3 touchdowns, threw 2 picks. But, hey, it was Garrett's first day as a starting quarterback. Coach Brown alluded to the fact in his postgame press conference that Garrett did, make some bad decisions at times. And I noticed during the game he didn't look like he was looking through all of his reads at times. But you know what? I felt like Garrett Green played good enough for West Virginia to win the game because he did some things with his feet. And I don't feel like he was the reason they lost the game. Now, the 2 picks obviously did hurt. But there again, I don't think it was the reason they lost the game. Rushing yards, Giddens for Kansas State had 12 carries for 78 yards and 1 touchdown. So West Virginia was able to hold Deuce Vaughn in check. So kudos to the West Virginia front 7 for holding him in check today. Jalen Anderson was actually West Virginia's leading rusher. I was glad to see Jalen get some opportunities today. 7 carries for 69 yards. There again, I felt like they should have gotten more opportunities in the second half, he and Justin Johnson. Receiving yards, Malik Knowles for Kansas State, a good day. 6 catches, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. Sam James, another big day for him. 3 catches, 102 yards, 3 scores. But kudos to Sam James for his day individually. We know Caden Prather did not play today. Coach Brown said he was injured today or he would have been out there. Obviously, one of the big news stories of the day, Charles Woods. Charles Woods announced on his Instagram account today that he would be transferring from the program. When Coach Brown was asked about it after the game, he commented that he'd only seen Charles Woods twice in the last 2 weeks and that the kid basically shut down on him. So not good to hear that. I don't know what's going on there. I'm sure there's something behind the scenes that we're not aware of between players, coaches, whatever. But Charles Woods has decided, he only played in 4 games this year, and I guess he's made the decision to use his last year of eligibility somewhere else. So we will see what happens there and where he ends up. I'd love to see Charles Woods back with the program, but it looks like he's moving on, and I hate to see it because I know he's a great player, and we could use that depth in the defensive secondary for sure. But that being said, I mean, my thoughts on the game, really the differences, turnovers, penalties at key times, and not being able to convert on third downs. And then the defense just played really bad again in the first half. We're giving up way too many big plays. I mean, that first drive, Kansas State had Deuce Vaughn ran into the end zone untouched. I think they drove the field on 5 or 6 plays on the first drive, and in their second scoring drive, I think they only had 3 plays to score. So just too many big plays given up by the defense in the first half. The defense stepped up in the second half and played much better, but it was kind of too little too late at that point, and the offense just at times couldn't get out of their own way, just could not seem to make plays. But that being said, I want to give kudos a little bit to Kansas State's corners. They really played a good game today. Bryce Ford Wheaton could not get open today. Sam James was able to beat them deep a few times and make some plays. But for the most part, this West Virginia receiving corps was not able to get open. And I feel like that was because of this Kansas State secondary did a really good job of covering our guys, and our guys struggled to get open. So kudos to them. And then Garrett, when there was people open, Garrett may have missed them here and there. But like I said, Garrett Green, I still think Garrett Green was the right guy today to start because of the damage he can do with his feet. One thing I want to talk about, too, I mentioned Chad Scott earlier. If Neil Brown's staff does happen to get fired, or Neil Brown gets fired and they, clean house, I wouldn't mind seeing Chad Scott stay on the staff if that's an option and if he wants to, because I really think Chad Scott is an excellent coach. You can tell by the development his running backs have made that he's a good coach. I mean, he develops his guys. He's got them better. They're playing hard for him. The guys have stuck around, even the ones that hadn't got the playing time they might have liked. They've stuck around, which tells you something. They must like playing for Chad Scott. He's a really good recruiter as well. He's been one of the best recruiters on the staff. I would love to see Chad Scott stay on. And if you keep a coach from the current staff, I think it makes it easier for some of the players that may be waffling. Well, should I transfer? Should I stay? I think it makes it easier for those guys to say, you know what, Coach Scott's still here. If I need something, I can always go to him. He's somebody I can lean on. He'll help me get through this transition. So I'll stay around. And especially when you got guys like C.J. Donaldson, Justin Johnson, Jalen Anderson, even Tony Mathis, who has another year. These really talented guys. If you want to keep them on this roster, I feel like it's important to maybe try to keep at least one coach that you think deserves to be kept. Now, I know a lot of people disagree with that. I was having some debates on Twitter today during the game. Some people think the entire staff needs to go. I'd like to see one or two guys stay, and I think Chad Scott is one of the ones that you need to keep around. But anyway, I want to hear your thoughts, Cougars Corner family, on this game. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of more of the same old story we've seen, game in, game out. Too many penalties. Can't make the plays when need to be made. Too many mistakes. Too many turnovers. Defense can't force turnovers. Defense giving up big plays. I mean, you name it. I mean, it's just one thing after the other. Not a lot to say. Offensive line played well, I thought. Sam James played well. Aubrey Burks, I felt played well defensively. He was the guy that stood out to me on the defensive side. I thought Jasir Cox made some plays. Obviously, Malachi Ruffin had the pick six. So, for the positive, special teams today was just absolutely atrocious. I feel bad for Casey Legg. On senior day, the kid has the worst game of his career, misses 3 kicks, 2 extra points, and a field goal. I don't know what was going on between him, the holder, the snaps. I don't know what the problem was. Was it just Casey missing kicks? Whatever the case may be, really bad day for special teams. But you know what? It happens. Bad games happen, and I'm not going to lay this at the feet of Casey Legg because he was not the reason we lost this game. And Casey Legg has been a really good kicker for West Virginia these last 2 seasons, has been very consistent in making kicks, especially extra points. And even his field goals he's been consistent on. So not going to throw any shade at him whatsoever. He just had a bad day, and it happens. I want to know your thoughts, Cougars Corner family. Do you think Garrett Green should start the next game? Do you think JT Daniels should get a start again? Or heck, do you think he should give Goose or Nico a shot? You have nothing to lose at this point. You can't make a bowl game. Do you want to get these guys some playing experience? I want to get your thoughts personally. I'd like to see what Nico can do. Give Nico a shot, put him in there, give the kid a chance. Let me know, Cougars Corner family, what you think about this game, what you think about the coaching staff. Do you think Chad Scott should be kept on, regardless of what happens with the staff? I also want to shout out to all the seniors. I haven't seen a list of what seniors walked today. But of course, we know that doesn't always mean anything because they could walk and still decide to come back for one more year. But there are some seniors on the team that can't come back because they don't have any more eligibility. People like Dante Steele, Taj Austin, just for 2 off the top of my head. I know those guys, as far as I know, do not have any eligibility left, so they cannot come back for another year. But there are several guys on the roster who do have eligibility left. So, but kudos to all the seniors who walked today. Thank you for the time, effort, hard work you've put into the program. Guys, if you haven't yet, I ask that you please check out my merch store. That'll really help me out financially. And if you buy something through Sunday, November 20th, you can get 20% off any item in my merch store, whether it's a hoodie, a ball cap, a beanie, a T-shirt, a mouse pad, a coffee mug, a travel mug, a water bottle, whatever it is, 20% off through Sunday, November 20th is a fall special. Be on the lookout. There will be a Black Friday sale in my merch store as well. So there'll be some even steeper discounts. So be on the lookout for that. But if you want to get something today, you might make a nice Christmas gift. If you've got somebody in your family that likes Cougars Corner, get them something out of my merch store today. Also, you can hit the join button right below this video. Join my channel, become a member, take advantage of some of the perks I have to offer. Want to give a shout out to one of my newest members, Doris Workman. Doris Workman, I want to thank you for your support for Cougars Corner. If you can't support me financially, you can support me for free in 4 ways. You can like this video, share this video with your friends, drop a comment below, and last but not least, you can hit the red subscribe button, subscribe to Cougars Corner. All that helps that YouTube algorithm and helps my videos get pushed out to more people, and it will help my channel grow organically. With all that being said, I really appreciate your support. and appreciate you tuning into this video. And until the next one, Q Country Roads.